Everybody has read Atomic Habits, Subtle Art of Not Giving an F, and Rich Dad Poor Dad, and the list keeps going on. So why would I read the same books everybody else has? Clearly those books haven't done what they needed to do. That's why I went to my local library and picked out 4 books to try to learn new things and change my life. But can I read those 4 books in 30 days? Let's find out. So at the beginning of the week, I had no clue what book I was going to start reading until I came across Train Your Brain for Success by Roger Seep. The author explains that they're going to teach you how to read, but faster. And that's very important for me because I plan to read 1 book per week, and reading faster will help me achieve that goal. What's cool about this book is that it's different from every other book. And if you've never heard of an interactive book before, it's a book that has exercises put in by the author for you to enjoy the experience of reading the book. And it lets you know that, hey, like if you mindlessly read this book, you won't get anything out of it and you won't learn anything. So what's the point of reading the book? And some of the lessons they teach, like reaching your core values, setting goals, time management, are skills that you're going to use for the rest of your life. And I think that's super important. One thing that will help you read faster, which is a tip from the book, is that you need to exercise your eyes. The reason why you need to train your eyes is because your eyes are what's going to be like scanning the page. So here's one of the activities they teach you in the book. What you're going to want to do is you want to stand up straight, look straight ahead, take your eyes and look as far left as possible. Then look as far right as possible. And then what you're going to do is along that line, you want to go back and forth, left and right 5 times. What this exercise is going to do is that it's going to help your eyes go from left to right, because in English we read from left to right. It'll help you scan your pages and read your pages a little bit faster. And that's why I really enjoyed this book, because it gave me something practical that I can exercise, not only just reading books. When was the last time you read a book that actually gave you something to learn from? So the second book that I read was The Catalyst, How to Change Anybody's Mind by Jonah Berger. And I really enjoyed this book because the author provides relevant case studies at the end of every chapter that we can relate to, and you can actually understand the concepts that were taught in the previous chapter. The thing that bothered me was that the author has a lot of useless fluff and stories and just basically useless information throughout the chapters. So I ended up just skimming most of the books, which kind of helped me because I stayed on track for finishing the second book in the second week. That being said, I found out at the end of the book that everything was summed up into 2 tables in the conclusion, and I could have skipped the whole book. But anyways, it was still a good read nonetheless. Highly recommend. Let's move on to the next book. So this book's a little different. This book's called The Secret Wealth Advantage by Akhil Patel. And this book covers the 18-year cycle. The reason why I found this book really interesting is because we tend to forget about the economy around us and how it functions. So reading this book made me realize that we buy, consume, and do things without even realizing what we're actually doing and how we're affecting the economy. The example in this book that really stood out to me was that about licenses. Because in our society, if you hold a license of some sort, you tend to be valued and get paid more. So when Uber was introduced to the markets, it basically rendered taxi licenses obsolete. As a driver, you don't need to apply for a license or pay for a license anymore because you could just get in your car, download the Uber app, and basically start driving. Therefore, the value of the taxi licenses plummeted. So this book took me a little while to finish because I'm not well versed in the field of economy. So I really wanted to understand this book because it's something new to me and I really wanted to learn. So I took a little bit more time with it to understand the concepts that the author was telling you about. I really recommend that you read this book because it really teaches you and gives you a very good overview of what the cycle is in economy and how it functions so you can beat it next time. But he does mention in the book that history never repeats itself, but history usually rhymes. So keep that in mind. So it all came down to this week. Will I be able to read 4 books in 4 weeks? The last book I had to read was Get Out of Your Own Way by Dave Hollis. And that's the thing. I found the book to be a little childish, so I kind of pushed it off. For quite a while, I procrastinated reading it, even though the book is supposed to help you to stop basically procrastinating. However, after I started to read the book and kind of like get through the chapters, by the 3rd chapter, I found that my composure was changing. The way the author structures the book is that he structures it in a way that each chapter is based off of a lie that society tells us. For example, one of the lies he describes is that men can't have emotions. However, he kind of dissects it and tells you that men can have emotions and gives you 3 points in every chapter that will help you to overcome certain things that society tells us. So did I read 4 books in 4 weeks? No, I didn't. But that doesn't mean this challenge was unsuccessful. I read 3 books in 1 month, and that's the most books I've ever read in probably the last 5 years. And to me, that's a success because I challenged myself and I pulled through for the most part. And that's what matters, is just trying. Personally, I learned 4 new skills from 4 different books that I can apply to my life starting today. And to be honest, I've been applying them for the past month. So that's why I think you guys should read these 4 books. Trying to find new ways to be exceptional can be very tough at times. That's why when you subscribe and join the community, we'll find new ways to be exceptional and to progress ourselves on our journeys.